Welcome to the Green and Golden Boys Packers podcast.
Coming to you from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
I'm Charles.
And I'm Marcus. And this is a Packers podcast for fans living inside enemy territory.
This is the new sound for the new era.
Here we are back again. Charles, how are you?
Good. How are you, Marcus?
I'm doing well. It's always a good day when we get to talk to the Green Bay Packers. And I'm not going to say it, but we all know who's coming to town this Sunday. Yep.
Yeah.
Get it out of your system.
Oh, when the Saints go marching in.
We can cut this.
Yeah, we'll cut it.
Or leave it in. I don't know. Well, yes. So for those of you who didn't understand that reference or the song, the Saints are coming to Lambeau Field. It is our home opener. Jordan Love's debut at Lambeau in the regular season.
Let's go.
Let's go. How are we feeling about this one?
Man, I'm pumped. I mean, the 2-0, I believe, Saints are coming into Lambeau. 1-1 Packers. That's okay. We have the best quarterback in the league so far. QBR rating says so. And I feel like that's enough said right there.
Yeah, I mean, so yes, through 2 weeks, Jordan Love leads the league in passer rating and touchdowns thrown. I think he's averaging less than 200 yards throwing a game though. So I don't know if you could really say best quarterback in the league, but he's certainly playing really well. It'll be interesting to see how he responds this week. I think we mentioned it last episode, but just an abysmal fourth quarter against the Falcons. Had an opportunity to bring the team back and put the kicker Anders Carlson in field goal range, but I think he went 0 for 6 in the fourth quarter. Couldn't get a first down or a reception completion for that matter. But regardless, very excited about this game. The Saints have a new quarterback too in Derek Carr, who's been playing okay. He's kind of a solid journeyman quarterback. Not a journeyman. He's only played for 2 teams, but
he is now. He will be. Yeah. I just don't picture him being a Saint for the years to come.
Yeah, maybe not. But he's a solid quarterback. He can make all the throws, but he can also throw a lot of interceptions and kind of crumble under the pressure. A couple things I wanted to note so far about this Saints offense. One, they have allowed 8 sacks so far this season, so 4 sacks per game of Derek Carr. I think that's going to bode really well for our defense. I think we've got a strong pass rush, and if we can kind of create havoc there at the line of scrimmage, it's going to be a long day for him. And I think he's going to start throwing it into coverage and make a mistake or two. And if we can get to him and get him to throw an interception, I think the Packers have a really, really good chance of winning this game. Not as concerned about their offense, but I am a little bit more concerned about their defense. So I don't know if you knew this or not, but they haven't allowed more than 20 points over their last 10 consecutive regular season games. Mm-hmm. So far this season, they are top 5 in yards, points, third down, and opponent quarterback rating, which means that they're holding the opponent's quarterback to a really low rating. This is a defense that, can get to the quarterback. They can cover really well. I mean, they have essentially a shutdown quarter and Marshawn Lattimore, and that's where I think the biggest test for this team is going to be.
Okay, saw that as well, and I was like, okay, so they got some defense. Let's go look at who they played. They just beat the Panthers 20-17. The Panthers have a rookie quarterback, and they beat the Titans, and the Titans have been, no one's picking the Titans to go to the playoffs. So I look at these first 2 games for them, kind of like we look at Jordan Love's QBR rating. Yes, right now they look to be a very, very good defense, but let's play an offense that, is a little bit more competent, hopefully, than the teams they've seen already. Just like Jordan Love has the number 1 QBR rating in the league right now, does anyone think he's the number 1 quarterback? No. So, okay, their stats are good, but stats lie. And I don't think you can trust stats until week 6, 7, or 8.
Right, and just to be clear, I'm not saying that I think their defense is top five. They're rated that way so far through two games. What I'm saying is that's where I think the challenge is going to lie. It's
Sure.
I don't think the offense is going to be a huge challenge for our defense. But you never know. I mean, they have Jamal Williams, they have Taysom Hill for God's sake, who's their leading rusher, if you can believe it. Two ex Packers that are kind of
Does Taysom Hill really count as a ex-Packer though?
Yeah. I mean, he was on the Packers and now he's not. So ex-Packer,
There
I
you
think
go.
by definition.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough.
But yeah. Anyways, no, I agree with you. I think they're probably not as good as their statistics would lead you to believe. But it's still something to take note of. It's still something we need to kind of consider. And again, if David Bakhtiari and Elton Jenkins aren't in this game, that might be it might be a bigger issue too because they have a couple of guys that can rush the passer and they've got they've have I think 6.5 sacks through two games so far too, so they can get after you. But it'll be interesting to see what they scheme up on offense because again I think Derek Carr can make all the throws, but he's a little unpredictable. He can be Brett Favre-esque. He can sling it to the opposing defense. So they've got a couple of really good wide receivers too, maybe a past his prime Michael Thomas. But they also, in 2022 took Chris Olave,
Right.
11th overall, and he's been playing really well this season so far, and
Yep.
he'll probably be their number one threat over the course of the season, I would think.
Yeah, yeah. I think the hardest part about this game to preview is a lot like the Packers. Like we've been very pleasantly surprised the first 2 weeks, but like we don't know who the Packers really are going to be, and I don't think like Saints fans can say like we really know who the Saints are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think you nailed the most important point though. Elton Jenkins did not participate in practice today, and neither did David Bakhtiari. I don't think David's going to practice all year, but still, every week we're going to talk about the fact that he's not participating. And when
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about a defense third most in sack percentages or something like that, it's noteworthy, right? And although I think I've seen several times where Jordan Love is very cool, calm, and collected when the pocket's closing in on him, eventually quarterbacks start hearing footsteps if they're getting sacked or getting too much pressure on them. So I think that's going to be our biggest test, like you just said. Looking at hopefully Elton Jenkins coming back or David Bakhtiari. We're playing on grass. We're playing at home, so I would hope that he's coming out to play. But I think that'll be a big indicator on which way this game will go if those two guys are able to suit up on Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. And to talk a little bit more about injuries, Christian Watson, I believe practiced yesterday, Wednesday, did not participate today, Thursday. According to Matt LaFleur, that's precautionary. That was always part of the plan, but we'll see. He'll be probably questionable for Sunday, but could play.
Mm-hmm.
I'm holding out hope, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Aaron Jones did participate in practice today, though, so that's a good sign. Would love to have him back, as he honestly would have been the difference maker last week, probably.
I told you. I
You were
told
right.
you. You finally
Yeah.
you sat on it over the last couple nights, and you're on my side that Jones is the difference.
Yeah, and I think my initial take was we don't need him to win necessarily, but yeah, he definitely is. He's our biggest playmaker. I mean, really. Um, okay, let's talk a little bit more about the Saints offense. I mean, we talked about Derek Carr and Jamal Williams and Michael Thomas and Chris Olave. What we haven't talked about yet is they've only scored 18 points a game,
Mhm.
averaging 18 points a game. They beat the Titans by one, only scoring 16 points, and they had four turnovers during that game, a blocked punt and three interceptions. So Tannehill, I mean, he was he was just throwing it to them all day long. And if you've got four turnovers and you only come up with 16 points, I think that speaks to kind of an not inept offense, but certainly a stagnant offense. So I personally feel like if we can hold the Saints to 20 or under, we're going to win this game. What do you think? What are your keys to success in this one?
Yeah, I think we're looking for guys like Rashawn Gary, who did not have the best game last week, like Jair Alexander, who did not have the best game last week, to have bounce back weeks. If they're able to look more like they were in that Bears game. I think to your point, this is a very below average offense. A below average offense, by the way, that's going on the road. We're home for the first time. It should be very, very loud in Lambeau. First home game of the year.
Hopefully not when we're on offense.
Right, but when we're on defense, right, to get those guys who again who are also new in their system. If we can get loud on defense, I think our defense is going to be able to shine. But defensively, right, we need our leaders to step up because those were two guys that I think you noticed did not play well last week. And when you notice your best players not playing well, it's hard to win games.
Yep, and I would say my key is going to be fundamental football. I mean, tackle, make a freaking tackle the guy. You know what I mean? I don't want to see Darnell Savage coming up from 10 yards and just chest bumping these guys. Make a tackle, bring the guy to the ground. Don't don't bump the guy and then forget to wrap up. Limit stupid mistakes. I mean, Jordan Love, I hate to say it, but that was a really stupid mistake. If you said the wrong word on that quarterback sneak and no one else did that. I did that once when I played football as quarterback when I was 15 on the JV team. I was the only one who thought the cadence was one, but everybody else thought two because that's what it was. And I just ran through the offensive line, and that's something that kids in high school do. That's not something you should do as a professional. Certainly not as a starting quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. But I don't want to pick on Darnell Savage, but don't misplay the ball. I mean, he was in a position to make a play on that deep ball, and he just jumped 2 seconds too early. Stuff like that. Like, Luke Musgrave not sitting on his route and, not being on the same page with Jordan Love. And there's a missed opportunity. We can't afford to miss these opportunities. These guys are young. They're inexperienced. We just need to get back to basics and play fundamental football. And I think that goes for play calling too. Don't get too creative.
Too
you know
cute.
What I mean? Like,
yeah.
Don't get too cute. Stick with what works.
Especially that first drive. Like if you can come out with just very run between the tackles or relatively straightforward type screens, but again, the flea flicker was cool. I liked it, and it did work. But these slow developing plays on the first or second game where it's long jet sweep type stuff. Both games, Bears and Falcons, that seem to get blown up early. So I completely agree. I just quick slants, quick things where Jordan can get into a rhythm quickly.
Yep. I agree. Quick throws, screen passes, quick slants, check downs, whatever, and then go for a play action deep shot. You know what I mean? I think that's what we're going to see from the Saints, and I think that's what the Packers should be playing too, on offense. So, and then we might, see some creativity from the Saints, things like, Rashid Shaheed with an end around, things like that, or just scheming him open, maybe even handing the ball off to him. Taysom Hill, like I said, is their leading rusher right now with 80 yards in the season. So expect to see him involved with some QB keepers. And honestly, wouldn't be surprised if they set that up for him to, throw a pass or two, in the second half. But it's going to be an interesting day, I think, from both offenses. We'll see if they can both kind of stick to the basics and play fundamental football.
Right now we're previewing week 3 of Jordan Love, the new era.
True.
The last few years that we've done this, obviously Rodgers was our quarterback, and I've really, really enjoyed the preview episodes. Really getting into how we're gonna win and why we're gonna win and lead. How we're gonna get to the Super Bowl. And I'm just talking now and gonna throw this back to you, but so far through these weeks, I've really enjoyed both of our Upon Further Review episodes more than the previews. Because again, like I said earlier, this episode, we don't know what to expect of either team, and it's just kind of remember these moment type things where it's really cool that we have this experience right now where we have a brand new quarterback who's starting to look pretty darn good. and it's just like so fun to like react every week to these games. And it's just, I don't know, like it's a weird like mental shift that I'm realizing I'm going through. I mean, have you kind of noticed that? Maybe not the exact same thing, but like, have you changed your perspective, or have you seen a difference in kind of how you're like now, looking at each game and how you feel about wins or losses?
In terms of analysis, not really. I feel like the review games, um, I'm more optimistic, in a loss than I would be if Rodgers was our
Sure.
quarterback and if our team weren't so young. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I even in defeat, I'm finding the positives. And again, this season, you know, if anything above 500 is gravy, in my opinion. And I think I'm just trying to enjoy the journey and watch Jordan Love's development, and watch these young receivers and skill players get better and or hopefully get better. So that's the perspective that I kind of have on this season.
Sure. The other reason why I asked that, the first 2 weeks, I could honestly say I wasn't really sure who was going to win, right? Obviously, the last few years, we had a really good chance of saying, hey, the Packers are going to win. You're probably going to be right, for most of the weeks. In the 2023 season, this game, and maybe I don't know why, but for some reason, I really feel strongly that the Packers are going to pull this one out against New Orleans. Maybe it's it's for sure because of what we've seen from Love, but also the fact that the Packers are going to be home for the first time this year. We're going to have that home crowd. The Packers are only favored. I'm saying only, but maybe you like the line. But they're only favored by 1.5, so it's basically a toss-up. The over-under is 42.5 points. And for some weird reason, I just think we're going to win 27 to 17. So I think we're going to cover, and I think we're going to get the over because I don't know. Maybe we get another defensive touchdown or a special teams touchdown, and I just see Jordan Love going on this train of, I'm going to call it now, at least 2 more touchdown passes, and if Jones can get one, there's 21 points right there. So that's my prediction. And again, it's the first time all year in the Jordan Love era that I feel confident and comfortable saying the Packers are going to win. Maybe that's the jinx, but it's what I'm feeling. How about you?
Good. Yeah, I mean, very similar. I've got the Packers scoring 27, so 3 touchdowns, 2 field goals, and the Saints scoring 23. So a little bit more than that 18-point average, but the Packers pulling out a win by 4.
Yeah, and you like me, where this is the first time where you I know we've made predictions before, but do you believe it this time? Or did you believe it on the last times? I guess the Bears. I think we could both say we had no idea what was going to happen.
Right. I was not confident going into that game. I think just the anxiety kind of overcame.
Right.
And I was more confident last week against the Falcons than I am even this week.
Okay.
I would say I'm confident though this week that the Packers will win.
Okay.
But not as confident as I was last week. But look how that turned out.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna turn it around, and that's the other fun thing. We're gonna turn it around. When I say that, I'm talking about our defense. I'm talking about our veteran defense. I'm not talking about Jordan Love. I need Jordan Love to keep doing what he's been doing. How cool is that, man? He's not the one I'm worried about.
Yeah, but it's not cool that we're worried about a defense that have how many first-round draft picks on there.
But if you put it in the perspective of us having another 17 years of Hall of Fame quarterbacking, which I'm getting more and more excited about. Well, Marcus, I think that does it for us today. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Green and Golden Boys, a Packer podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and rate us on your favorite podcast service. And as always, Marcus,
go Pack, go.